Hey guys, welcome back to the next part of our series. Today we're going to continue with the base mesh shapes. We're going to do the base mesh for our character. But before we do that, we definitely need to talk about proportions, which are a very important part of the whole process. Traditionally speaking, we have been using this proportion chart for the past, I would say, like 100 years or something. It's been around the academic parts of teaching, for drawing, sculpting, and all of the different things, even fashion. So this is a great way to understand how proportions work. However, that does not mean that we need to do that like always, right? What do I mean by this? What I mean is that sometimes it's okay to modify a couple of things to get a better result. Now, the traditional proportion, what we all adhere to pretty much, is this normal 7.5 head proportion. But as you can see, it looks rather boring. So most of the time, and most of the things that you normally see, we're working with this idealistic proportion. It's the famous 8 head proportion. And if you've seen this proportion before, you know that we always take the head as a measurement, as a unit of measurement, and then from there we build up the rest of the body. However, the one that we might be using, it's this heroic proportion right here. It's a little bit bigger, it's a little bit more like grandeur, like this hero things from old myths and legends, right? And the places are really similar, I would say. The main thing that I've seen when using heroic proportions is the fact that the head looks a little bit smaller than the rest of the body. You have this really big torso, this really tall figure. So we're going to start by creating our base idealistic proportion because it's a lot easier to follow and make sure we have it right. And then we're going to change it so that it looks a little bit better in a more heroic way. So to do that, I'm going to be using one of my favorite techniques inside of Zbrush, which is a Z-spheres. Z-spheres are these super powerful tools that we have here inside of Zbrush, and I've been using Z-spheres for more than 10 years. It was one of the first tools that I learned, because when I learned Zbrush almost 11 years ago, Dynamesh didn't exist at that point, so we had to use other techniques to create our base meshes. And I do think Z-spheres have a very big advantage over Dynamesh, especially if this is one of your first like full character concepts or works. And one of the things that Z-spheres are really good for is the fact that you're going to allow us to keep our proportions in check. So the way we're going to do this is I'm going to jump into Krita here. I'm going to zoom this in a little bit so we have this guy right here in the center. And then by jumping back into full showing the ZBrush, we can use the see-through option to start like building up our character. So the first sphere that we have here, which is going to be the sphere that we're going to be working with. Let me just, I always forget about turning on the, where is it? Karnak thing, there we go. So you guys can see the keystrokes. Perfect. So what we're going to use is we're going to use this base sphere as the core of our character. Then by pressing the letter Q, which is at the edit or the draw mode, we can draw one sphere on top here. I usually like to use my mouse when I'm working with Z-spheres just because it's a little bit easier. I also suggest bringing the draw size all the way down to 1 so that we only modify the Z-sphere that we're that's active. So we're going to draw one Z-sphere right there, and we're going to draw another Z-sphere right here on the bottom. You should have this sort of like little bean shape figure, something like this. Now make sure that every time you draw a Z-sphere, you click outside of the element so that you lose the connection to that Z-sphere, because sometimes a very common mistake is that you're going to draw a Z-sphere and then you're going to draw a Z-sphere somewhere else, and it's going to connect it to the last Z-sphere that you drew. So it's going to create a very weird error. So something like this is fine. I'm going to press W now, and with W I can bring this up to about there. Now I'm going to draw another little sphere here, which is going to be the neck, and one more sphere on top of that one. If we bring this back, as you can see, we got that right there. So I'm going to move this thing up, and then this one I can press E to scale this so that we have a neck that's a little bit better in size, something like that. And then on this one, I'm going to draw another sphere, which is going to represent the head. Doesn't have to be perfect, and the reason why it doesn't have to be perfect is because we're going to be modifying. We just want the base mesh. If you guys have ever done traditional like sculpting, one of the things that we do all the time are called armatures. So armatures are really good because one, they save weight, they give support to the clay so that it doesn't fall off, and also they keep the proportions in check. So a very common thing that we can do is modify this sort of stuff with or have an armature that's going to hold and support everything. So coming back here to the C-sphere, the only thing we need to do is we're going to use W to bring this up a little bit more. Go back to Q, and I'm going to draw the shoulders. So we go back to Q, and we just draw a shoulder right there. We rotate this around, and we move this to the side. That's where the arms are going to be connected to. On the bottom part here, we're going to have the femur. So the femur, we're going to talk about anatomy quite a bit in the next couple of videos, but the femur has this very interesting like diagonal direction. It goes out and then down, as you can see right here. So this represents something called the great trochanter, which is a protrusion that the bone has coming off from the pelvis. So I'm going to just get that right about there. I'm then going to draw a new sphere here, and I'm going to press Shift. When you press Shift, the new sphere that you get is going to be exactly the same size as its parent sphere. So that way I can very easily just move this down here. And then with E, I can just make it thinner so that we get the proper placement for the wrists. I personally don't like doing the hands in the C-sphere mode because it takes a lot of time and it's just not really worth it in my opinion. But if you want to, we can add another sphere and add more fingers. I'm going to show you a different way to add the hands later on. So I'm going to do the same for the legs. I'm going to draw one sphere right here, Shift, and then W, and move it all the way down to this point. Keep them really close so they're right there on the ankle. You can see it's not perfectly centered. That's fine. Like even the image is not like perfectly centered. What we want the most is the proportions. Now, the most important parts of the arms and the legs are, of course, the elbows, which should be roughly at the side or at the point where the navel is, so right about there, and the knees, which should be right about here. And there we go. So we have the proper shape or the proper proportions for a character, but this looks horrible, horrible, horrible. And the reason why it looks horrible is because we have not added the things that we need to make sure that this works as nicely as possible. It seems like I didn't. Did I remove symmetry or something? Let me go back a little bit. I'm going to just move this down. There we go. Sometimes when they're really close together, they kind of like merge. I don't want that. So there we go. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to do or add something called gesture. We want to add a little bit of movement to the character so that it's not as stiff. And the way we're going to do this is really simple. With W, I'm going to push the abdomen forward. I'm going to push the elbow back a little bit and the hand forward a little bit like this. This is going to go back and this one's going to go straight like there. Something like that. Now, as you can see here, the character has its arms and its legs close to the body, right? In this sort of like anatomical position, if you wish. The problem with this is for us as sculptors and for us as 3D artists, it's going to be very difficult to make sure this flows in the way that we want. So we need to rotate this. And there's two main ways in which we can do this. Let me go over here. So the first one that you might have heard of is, of course, the T-pose. T-pose is a great way to sculpt characters. It makes rigging a lot easier. I would say it reduces by like half the complexity of the rig, to be honest. But the problem with the T-pose is that the shoulder area and the upper torso area are really contracted. You're gonna have a little bit of a hard time sculpting things so that they are like the muscles are activated. And another very common issue with the T-pose is that when you either move the arms up or down, you get a lot of deformations here on this part, on the trapezius, and on this part on the chest. That's not as desirable. So in the last couple of years, a lot of artists have been using something called the A pose. Some people call it the B pose, the A pose, relax pose. There's a lot of ways to name it. And even though riggers or some of the riggers that I know prefer T pose because again it's a little bit easier, the V pose actually gives you way more flexibility on the deformation side of things. So the B pose, as you can see here, is going to be the character with its arms down, this or like A pose or B pose, and the foot like slightly separated as well. Now, I don't want to just go here to W and move this to the side because if I do that, the proportions might change and I want to keep the exact proportions that I have right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press R, click on this C-sphere right here, and then click on the bone to rotate the bone out. And as you can see, that's going to be giving us the rotation that we're going for. So we're going to do something like this. I've heard and I've seen several like interpretations of how far you should open the V pose. Some people like to go like 45 degrees. Some people like to go 15 degrees. I've seen some people go like really close, like 10 degrees. I personally like to go somewhere around 30 degrees so that I have enough room to work on the armpits and places like that. But again, it also depends on the character. I always use the example of like Spider-Man, right? So if you're going to be using or doing Spider-Man, then since he's going to be moving and like modifying the arms quite a bit, you definitely want to sculpt every single bit, right? Because you're going to be seeing his armpits quite a bit. However, if you're doing, I don't know, like a dwarf, right? And the dwarf is just going to be always with his axe or with his sword down, and he's not really going to be like raising his arms as much, then that means that you might not need to do that as much, and you can leave the arms like a little bit lower. Again, it depends on the character. Our character has really broad shoulders and in a big like a frame, so I think I'm gonna leave it a little bit more than I would usually, like that. And I'm also gonna bring or bend the forearms a little bit out so that we get this very nice effect right here. Usually the upper arm should fall down like very straight towards the side. So another thing we can do is we can rotate this forward a little bit, and there we go. So as you can see, the hands are gonna be a little bit up here compared to the ones that we have on our character, but this should be more than enough to start working on the different elements of our character. Now for the feet, because I do want to add the feet, our character has this sort of like demonic feet, so he's gonna have like 2 claws. In this case, I'm just gonna add like the length of the feet, and then I'm gonna add a little, again with Q, I'm gonna add a little sphere right there, which is gonna see that's the error that you get when things are not connected properly. So I'm gonna Control C, click outside of the element, and just draw another sphere right here. Oh my god, again. There we go. So this gives us already like this sort of like stick figure effect that looks very nice, and allows us to have a base mesh to work with. The proportions are okay. Now, if we bring this to the other guy, you can see that by just scaling, we're going to be really close to the final effect. So once you have a base mesh like this one, it's very easy to adapt it to other sides or other types of proportions. That's why we're going to be working with the 8-head proportions pretty much throughout the whole course. And then at the end, if we see that we need to tweak a couple of things, we're just going to modify them and scale them very easily. Now, another thing I would like to do is I would like to add a little bit of volume to the legs. They are very thin. So I'm going to go with Q again, add one more C-sphere right here and scale it. So I have a little bit more volume there on the leg. And I'm also going to do this for the calves. So I'm going to add a sphere right there, push this, and this one is going to be pushed back like this. This one's going to be pushed forward. Again, see how we're creating that sort of like S-curve shape that we have right there? That's what we want to do. I can even add another sphere right here to represent the pectoral muscles and just like bring this up a little bit as well. This guy's, I think, a little bit up, so I'm going to bring them down and out. And our job pretty much is going to be to fill in all of the gaps that we have here for the character. So I'm going to get rid of see-through right now. And the first thing you need to do before we jump into Dynamesh is we need to check the integrity of the mesh, right? So if I press the letter A on my keyboard, you're going to see that we get this preview. And this is very important. It's a preview. A lot of my students sometimes forget about this and they start sculpting on this character and then it's a mess. No, this is just a preview, and it's called the Adaptive Scheme Preview, as you can see right here. So if I turn this preview on, you can see that it's giving us a Dynamesh at density 4 with a 256 Dynamesh resolution representation of how these C-spheres are going to look once we convert them into Dynamesh, which is perfect. We want this guy to look like Gumby, so this is perfectly fine, just like a plastiline like silhouette of the character. And now that we have this, and now that I know that the adaptive skin is going to work properly, the only thing I need to do is I need to make this an adaptive skin. When you press make adaptive skin, again, do not be confused. You are going to create a new subtool, or a new tool rather. So up here on the tool palette, you're going to see this tool right here. A very common question I get asked is how do you delete stuff, or how do you get rid of like more tools than you want? Very simple. First of all, let's go to this C-sphere, and I'm actually going to save this one for you guys on our project folders. So let me go real quick to our character. Oh, it's not that one. Here. So in the assets folder, I'm going to call this C-sphere armature. In case you're having issues with the proportions, you can of course load this one in. Now, if I don't want to see this C-sphere armature here on my file anymore, the only thing you need to do is just delete this. delete the subtool, and when you delete it, as you can see, it's now gone from the tool palette. Sometimes when we have a lot of projects open or a lot of tools open, you're gonna see this thing like become like super busy. You can of course reset Zbrush, but the easiest way is to just go over there. Another thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rename this. I'm gonna call this Thyros, which is the name. One of the things I hate about the renaming is that it doesn't let you use capital letters. It gets out. So I'm gonna call this Thyros_base mesh, and that way that's going to be the new name of the element. You can see when I change there, it's also going to update over here, and that way I know which base mesh I'm actually working with. And that's pretty much it, guys. We have the base mesh ready, so now we need to start working on the primary forms of our character. I'm gonna do a very basic primary form blocking in the next video. And I think that's going to be pretty much it for this first like introduction chapter, just the basics of the character, because then we're going to have to start with the anatomy. We're going to do all of the anatomy for the character, and it's going to be very fun. So yeah, hang on tight, and I'll see you back on the next one.